Subject to exit strategies. Today we're going to be talking about 5 different exit strategies when it comes to real estate investing subject to. Okay, and I am Mike with My Real Estate Dojo at mrnofluff.com, and without any further delay, let's dive in. The very first exit strategy, well, before I get into the exit strategies, let me define what a subject to is. A subject to investing is a situation where a homeowner is highly motivated. Maybe they lost their job, maybe they're going through a divorce, and therefore they're willing to just walk away from the property. What that means is that they're willing to become the private bank for an investor, for a buyer. In other words, there's a motivated seller. They're simply put, they're allowing for an investor like me to just take over their payments. Therefore, I don't have to go to a bank to get a loan. I don't have to worry about if I have good credit or bad credit, because it's not going to be dependent on my credit. The seller is going to be my private bank. Now that you know what a subject to investing is, we should now dive into the 5 exit strategies. So exit strategy number 1 is the one that I applied when I was, a beginner being a real estate investor. I started being a real estate investor back in 2006, fourth quarter, when I saw the real estate bubble about to bust. Now, the very first deal I did was buying a house subject to from a city worker, and they were going to a divorce, and the house payments were behind about 2 months, going to third. And so what I did is I just bought the house from this guy by just taking over his payments, simply put, and then turned it into my personal homestead. In other words, I just moved into it, and that was my very first house that I bought. And at that time, it made a lot of sense because, I didn't live in a home. I didn't have a house, and Obama was offering $10,000 for first-time home buyers. So I thought, man, this is a great deal. So I bought the house, and my very first exit strategy was to live in it. So I lived in it. So the very first exit strategy is that someone can buy a house from a motivated seller and then turn it into their own personal home, live in it for a few years, etc. And that's exactly what I did. Now, the second exit strategy is something else that I did after I bought the first house, subject to, is to rent the property out. So again, exit strategy number 2 when it comes to subject to is renting the property out. And why did I rent the properties out is because I was able to find another deal, buy it from a motivated seller, and their monthly payments, for example, was $1,000, and I was able to rent that property out for $1,300, $1,400, just to give you a quick example, and get the spread off, the difference between what my mortgage payments were. Well, actually, let me correct that. It wasn't my mortgage payments, it was the seller's mortgage payments, because they just took over their payments. But I told them I'll make the payments, and I did make the payments. And so what I did is I rented it out, got the spread from what the mortgage payments was and what I rented out, which is a couple of $100, and which was a great investment for me because, again, I didn't have to get a loan. I didn't have to put 20% down, nor did I even have to put 3.5% down for FHA, which, if you're an investor, you can't get an FHA loan. But even if I did, like some people lie, which I wouldn't, or manipulate the rules, I should say, in a nicer way, it would be more junk fees, more this, more that, where this way, I bought the seller's home for what they owe on the debt balance, which meant they had equity in the property. I didn't have to pay all the junk fees, title companies and title policy and notary fee and so on, because I controlled the deal. And a lot of the benefits was that the seller had already lived in the property for 4 or 5 years, and they had paid a lot of the interest payoff, where now we're going to be tilting towards principal reduction. Because if you don't know, 30-year amortization is a one-way bankers screw borrowers. Is the first 7-10 years of your monthly payments are going towards interest, majority of it, versus principal reduction. So when someone lives in the home, a borrower, for 7-10 years, and I take over their payments, now I'm tilting towards principal reduction, which means a great thing for me, because equity, right? And I didn't have to pay all the junk fees. So exit strategy number 2 that I've used is I bought a house subject to, and I rented it out. And I loved it, because these were the deals that I was able to put $2,000 or $3,000 into it to buy the home. That included the closing cost, maybe paying the seller a little bit money, maybe just paying them no money and just paying their arrears because they were behind a couple of months. But for just a couple of $1,000s, I was able to buy a house, get massive cash flow out of it, and then 6-7 years down the line, cash out on some of them, and make $100,000 or close to it, not including the yearly cash flow of ownership for 7 years, right, or 6 years. So these were like amazing home runners that you can't get it from the MLS, that you can't get it from dealing with agents, that you can't get it from the auctions, because there is so much competition there and people filtering to make the deal not as lucrative for me, I guess. So anyways, exit strategy number 2, rentals. Now let's go to exit strategy number 3. Now exit strategy number 3 is something that I'm going to be using in 2021, 2022, 2023, because, thank you. Sorry guys, I do this stuff unedited, uncut, real deal, unscripted. It just flows out of me. But you got to be there with me. I'm bicycling. And I don't know if you can tell, it's an uphill. And it's kind of getting out of breath. Anyways, exit strategy number 3, I think, in my opinion, it's not financial advice, it's something that I'm going to do, is this strategy, which is become my own bank, if I can give you simply put. Not really. But what that means is I will buy a house subject to, and then I will turn around and create a note, which means is I'll become a private bank for the new buyer. And when I create that note, that means I become almost like a bank, and that has a lot of lucrative positioning in a down market where hundreds of people, millions of people have lost their jobs, versus rentals. Rentals are dealing with different types of mindset versus buyers. So in this crash, the play for me is buying property subject to, and then owner financing it out to retail buyers that have businesses but just can't get loans or something, that have good money, that can afford to make the monthly payments, because I want them to be able to cash me out. And I'm gonna have 3 profit zones with this exit strategy: buying houses subject to, and then owner financing them out. Okay, so the 3 profit zones, let me run through them real quick. Number 1, the down payment. Because when I sell a house owner financing, I'm going to require 10%, 15%, 8%, whatever it is, depends on the price of the home, as a down. And sellers that can get loans will also know that they need to have a down payment to buy a house, so they'll have that, or they wouldn't be in the market for it. So I'll make profit zone number 1 is the down payment. Now, profit zone number 2 is that whatever the interest rate is today, when I take over someone's mortgage, I'm going to wrap that, which means that I'm going to add a couple of points to it and wrap it. And then when I owner finance it, when I create that note, I'm going to get the spread, just like if I was going to do with a rental property. But in this case, I don't own the property. The new buyer does. So Profit zone number 2 is the spread from the interest rate, underlying mortgage loan interest rate versus what I'm gonna increase it by during the wrap. So that's the second profit zone that I'm gonna make money out of. And the third is going to be my back end profit, because everyone knows that, you know, when you buy a house for cash, it demands a deep discount. And everyone also knows that if you're going to buy a house or a car or whatever, someone's going to finance it, that you're going to be willing to pay more of interest rate. You're going to have to be paying more of asking price. And that's how everything works. Car business, real estate. Okay, so when I sell a house for cash, I'm not gonna be, if it's worth 100, I can't expect it to get 100 for it. I might be able to get 70 for it, 80 for it, depending on the condition of the house. Because whoever's gonna buy it and they have that kind of money, well, there's a reason why they have that kind of money, because they're not gonna be paying retail price. That's why they have that kind of money, right? They were smart. So that's the price for cash. Now, if I'm going to sell my same exact house that's worth 100, and I'm going to owner finance it to some guy that can't get a loan, but he has a cleaning business, or he has a roofing business, or a moving business, a construction business, or whatever, right? And the guy has $40,000 down. He can afford to pay the $1,500 a month mortgage payments. Then, of course, I'm going to do that deal with that guy, and if the house is worth 100, I'm gonna sell it for 120, because there's a premium you gotta pay. You know what I mean? And if he doesn't want it, that's totally fine. I'll just wait for another person. You know, so you know, if all the houses in the area are selling for 100, and if he's gonna get a conventional loan, I'll sell it for 100 too. But if he doesn't have a conventional loan, then I want to get 115. I want to get 120, because I got to take more risk. And since I'm taking a risk, I got to get paid more. And so that's where the back end profit zone comes in, guys. Okay, so that's number 3 on the profit zone when we're talking about node creation. So let's move forward. Okay, all right. Now the other exit strategy for subject to investing is wholesaling a deal out. For example, I find a motivated seller, I negotiate a subject to deal. Maybe I don't want to buy it myself. Maybe I don't want to move into it myself. Maybe I don't want to turn it into a rental property. Maybe it's too far for me. Maybe it's needs too much work. Maybe I don't like the area, whatever. So instead of just throwing that deal in the trash, you know, and I've done that so many times, you know, when I first started out, because I had 3 businesses to run. I had a moving company that I owned for 14, 15 years. I had a brokerage firm, you know, people older than my grandparents working for me. So I cherry picked the best deals, and I would throw away hundreds and thousands of dollars per month in the trash can, because I didn't want to wholesale deals. And that, you know, not that I didn't understand it, I just didn't want to put the time into it, because I was making money so many different ways. And that was, when I look back at it, I'm like, man, that was crazy. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing for everyone, is people can learn from my mistakes, which is the exit strategy number 4, that if a deal comes through and I lock it up on their contract, because that's all I need is a contract. I don't even need hundreds of dollars to close the deal, none of that stuff. And if I don't want to buy it to move into it, I don't want to buy it to rent it, I don't want to buy it to lease it, then what I'm going to do is I'll just put it on the contract and sell it to an investor buddy, or some other investor on Facebook, or some investor on my buyer's list, or on Craigslist, or a Bandit sign, or whatever. Okay, and what that investor is going to do is, they're not going to buy the property because I don't own the property, but they're going to buy the contract that I have, my positioning to buy the property, the equitable interest. That's what they're going to buy. And therefore, for that, there's a fee, you know, a finder's fee, or some people call it finder's fee, but really it's called an assignment fee. And they'll pay me maybe $2,000, maybe $3,000. I mean, every deal that I've ever had my students do, it was just a quick $3,000, and they always got it very quickly, And even though there was a lot more meat on the bone, I just told them, hey man, this is your first deal. It might be smart to just learn and make some money. And a lot of them decided to go with that suggestion because it is smart to get paid to learn. So or the assignment fee can go like what some people make, 20 grand, 25 grand, 50 grand, depends on the deal, right? I know people there are in the commercial sector, and when they flip wholesale deals, just they flip a contract, man, they may make $500,000, $200,000, 1.5 million, no joke. So it all depends on what the deal is. So now we talked about 4 different exit strategies. There's also the 5th one. Okay, so let me run through the 4th one more time. The investor can buy the house subject to from a motivated seller and then move into them themselves, or they can rent it out, or they can create a note and become a private lender and let someone move into the property and own it versus renting it and get the 3 profit zones that we talked about. All right, thank you. Or 4, wholesale it to some other investor that wants to buy it, or retail it, which is sell it to some homeowner, right? That wants to buy it. But the difference between that and the 3rd one is that one, I would be wrapping the notes, right? I will be wrapping the notes. And where on the wholesale, I wouldn't be doing that. I would just get my assignment fee, and then the new buyer would just take over the existing loan's underlying debt terms exactly as it was, called the mirror. I would just get an assignment fee. So that's what wholesaling is. Now we got the 4 different exit strategies of subject to. Sorry if the noise was not awesome. But guys, I'm riding bikes. A lot of people say, hey man, what are you doing, Mike? I'm riding bikes, guys. I'm having fun. And that's why I do what I do, is because I want you guys to have fun too and be your dreams, right? If you guys need any help with real estate, then go to mrnofluff.com and download my free course, my free book, I'm sorry. A lot of positive reviews about it. It shows you exactly how to find these deals. It shows you exactly how to structure these deals. It teaches you the 3 foundations of real estate. So it's totally for free at mrnofluff.com. And if you need help, and if you're really serious, then consider joining my profit sharing. And if you just need, specific tasks that you should, or you can do it yourself, you just need the actual blueprint, the actual manuals, the actual knowledge, then go to mrnofluff.com and download my best-selling courses, guys. And don't forget, guys, if you're here, please click the like button for the Google algorithm. It really helps out to show this content to other people that may benefit them. And let me know what state you're from below and what you thought about this content. If you have any questions about it, I'd be happy to help you guys out. Much love. Peace to you.